Hey guys, I'm sorry this is a little bit late. I was helping a student at 4 o'clock and I really just didn't have time. But I have a witness, Coach Beckley can attest. But anyway, let me go over this super quick so we can make this video short and hopefully it'll help you out with the test. Manifest destiny, I think you should have, a pretty good idea. I don't think I should have to go over that too much. Just make sure you understand that that belief that God gave us the right to expand and whatnot. Jackson Van Buren hesitant to annex Texas. Really, two big reasons. One, they're afraid of the conflict that it would cause with the North, and also, though, that idea of trying to stay out of war with Mexico. The idea of graduation and preemption. Some people were already asking questions about this. Basically, it's that idea of the government helping to expand and that westward by giving cheap land. And I had that page number. Sorry we didn't cover this sooner. But those preemption acts with the government helping expand, it was that idea of just cheap land to help expand west. And with that idea of manifest destiny, Mexico forbidding the outlawing slavery. Make sure you're aware of that. Government do for the railroads, other industries. We talked about tax breaks, giving land, anything to help build industry in the early 19th century. Just the government was pretty much doing. Treaty, you should be good with that one. What did we receive? Make sure you know all the area, with Mexican cession and everything, New Mexico, Arizona, parts of California, Texas, obviously, so make sure you're aware of that. And then the Olmsted Manifesto, you should be able to look that up, show that, we were hoping to expand, even in the places, Latin America, Cuba. The Gadsden Purchase, you should be able to look that up and just make sure, it didn't cause any conflict. It was one area that we were able to actually get without any conflict happening. So that should be it for 12. In terms of the review, economic policy, I think you guys, y'all should be able to get that. First colleges, Harvard, etc. Remember, we're founded, on a lot of religious, obviously, ideals. So for religious reasons, churches, so if they're for religious reasons, churches are creating those. Life for women, like in the colonies, obviously, it was very rough. They couldn't own property unless they were widowed. They were very much second-class citizens. Puritans stopped leaving. This one, a lot of people might have had questions about. Remember, you had that glorious revolution, the Protestants taking over government with Cromwell for that time period. And remember, the Protestants had been the ones fleeing Europe, England specifically, for so long, and now they were in control of government for that time period. So make sure you're aware of that. That goes into that whole idea of global events and how they affect our nation's history. And in that time period right there, we didn't have near as much Protestant and really as much people coming from England as we had before. The cause of the First Great Awakening, you should be able to find that one. Outcomes, make sure schools increasing, especially higher education. Believe in democracy, a more democratic spirit as people got more of those individual beliefs, missionary, evangelistic spirit, and emotional faith in God. It benefited all those things, increased all of those things. Skip one. The economic systems, New England, middle, and southern colonies, you should be able to look that up. In terms of New England colonies not fitting into that mercantilism system, all right, remember, the South and, large degree, those middle colonies did a lot of agricultural, and I'm not going to necessarily give you the answer there, but what did New England not provide that those other areas provided? And that's something to keep in mind there. Roger Williams and Ann Hutchinson, I remember he was Roger Williams, separation of church and state, that kind of idea that the state is an ineffective organization for faith and should not be controlling it. And then Ann Hutchinson, that idea of faith alone, the getting away from that Puritan ideals of good works. And the word, you should be looking for antinomianism in terms of Ann Hutchinson. I'm sorry, it's kind of backwards, but it's ANTINOMIANISM. And that was her idea. You can find that online as well. But really getting to that idea of it's faith alone in that personal relationship with God. And then the beliefs of the Quakers, you should be able to find that. The founding of their colony, what made them unique, their relationship with the Native Americans and being much more accepting than than other areas and other faiths. Unit 2, Shays and Whiskey's Rebellion. Make sure, obviously they're in both cases they're upset for taxes, different types of reasons. Shays Rebellion, you got the ex-soldiers, Whiskey Rebellion, those farmers in Pennsylvania, and then why they compared. Think about how Shays Rebellion was handled with the Articles of Confederation, then the Whiskey Rebellion in terms of how Washington was able to handle it under our new form of government. So you need to make sure you're aware, how it was handled under the Articles, like I said, with Shays, and how Washington was able to handle it, and how it showed how those two forms of government were going to be different. Remember Shays, it was a big part of the Articles falling apart. Proclamation Acts, Currency Acts show about the change in relationship between Britain and the colonies after the French Indian War. If you think about really think about what Britain started to do to the colonies, that idea of salutary neglect and ending that period of salutary neglect, and how these acts showed that period was coming to an end. So make sure you're aware of that. Beliefs of the Federalists, Anti-Federalists, you should be able to look that up. They have good charts for that. In terms of states' debts, really gets to that sectional debate. The South not, necessarily being a big fan of, because they think that the North, because the North has more debt, and that is benefiting the North, so it gets in that sectional debate. The first banks, that idea of loose and strict construction, the necessary and proper clause, and over the Constitution. The Anti-Federalists adamant about those Bill of Rights, where the Federalists in that debate over those Bill of Rights, and the Anti-Federalists refusing to agree to ratify unless they get those Bill of Rights in that Constitution. And then Unit 3, Primary Economic Systems, you should be able to pretty much knock that out. The roots of those different systems, we've talked about that. Where can we trace them back to? If you think about it, you should be able to get that. Just think really, really early. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then how did the Industrial Revolution affect these areas? Obviously, where did industry grow more? What did it do in terms of the South and its reliance on cotton with the Industrial Revolution? Did it lessen it? Did it make it more? How did it affect those areas? And what was the purpose of Henry Clay's system and the Monroe Doctrine? And then obviously Henry Clay's system, anything to do with growing business, whether through transportation means or with the bank and giving and taking care of industry, anything with growing business. But I would write down those specific things that his system did. And then the Monroe Doctrine, make sure you understand that was that idea that we were now stepping out forefront on a global scale, telling other countries not to come into this hemisphere because we didn't like their types of governments. Specifically, you need to remember what type of governments we were talking about that had taken back control of a lot of those European countries, and that idea of that nationalistic pride we built after the War of 1812. All right, so hopefully try to make that as short as possible. Obviously, if you have any questions over the weekend, please email me, ask me, even if it's not about this part. Use those quizzes for 10 and 11. And please study. And you guys have a great weekend, and look forward to seeing you guys on Monday.